I'll look back in 20 years and be like, yeah, the reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person. It's because of me too, and I want y'all to realize that.
All right. Welcome once again to the Beatzilla PDX official show. I am your host, Beatzilla PDX, officially. This is a news break about the real reason for MAGA's meltdown over Caitlin Clark's truth. And as you were coming in, please hit that like button, share this out on your social media if you would. And for those who are in the chat, thank you for being here. And for those who are watching the replay, appreciate each and every one of you as well. And if you're new here, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, hit the word all. That way you'll be notified anytime this channel goes live or a video is uploaded or premieres. So, like we're saying, we have this issue here where people are losing their minds over Caitlin Clark speaking what she spoke, which for me, I don't have any problem with what she said because realistically, it's true. However, it does speak to another problem that's going on, and that's that image thing. Going back to like when Facebook, they had the so-called whistleblower, and one of the major things about that period of time and the whistleblowing was that young white girls were having self-image issues by what they were seeing in their feeds and feeling that they had to look like the girls in their feeds. And what they were trying to allude to, which we do not see a lot on Instagram, is a bunch of the plastic Barbie types. That's not really what you see. What you typically see is, at the best, if it's plastic surgery, are BBLs. But those BBLs are usually acquainted or accompanied with melanated skin. So when we start getting into the image, I think we can understand why people were feeling some kind of way. Also, that image plays very heavy into the support of Caitlin Clark, which when you see Caitlin Clark, this is not a support for her personally either. It's not for the sport. They are using her as a vehicle, which she has already actually kind of spoken to that situation before. And she knows that they are basically trying to use her as a proxy, right? Now, just think of her knowing the case and knowing what the deal is. She's not the first player to benefit from privilege, but she is now one of the first modern day players to speak of such said privilege. And these folks are losing their minds. That's all the talk about, all of these anti-diversity people, which, when you look at diversity, equity, and inclusion, that always is. That's just a new word for intersectionality, which also still excludes Black folks from getting benefits. So it makes people think that, oh yeah, it's that. It's not. And then they're using the whole woke thing, and this is not that. It's not that at all. Women's basketball has been on the rise over the past years, and that's with or without Caitlin Clark. And of course, it means without Caitlin Clark because, of course, she's only one player, and the entire game of women's basketball has been elevated. Not one person can do that. They like to say that because that's the hype that they've ran with. And what she's kind of done is taken the steam out of it because she knows good and doggone well it's not about her. It's all about the appearance. And one of the things about appearance that we talking about is how white women tend to look at what Caitlin Clark said, because you have them identifying with that. And also with this, just looking at this whole conversation, I gotta say, how much of this image thing is the issue? And for those of you who don't know what's going on with this particular woman here and why she's on the screen, if you guys have got a chance to see any posts on X, you might have seen her face. This is a woman is from, and let me preface this by, she's not a foundational Black American, because this is Miss France. She's from the island of Martinique, which is still part of France. And so she actually won Miss France. I guess she'll be competing for the country of France in the Miss Universe pageant. And so, funny enough, this is France. Why did I see posts on X talking about this was a DEI win? This is France, not America. This is all the way on another continent. And these people over here are upset that this woman won and the other white women didn't. I mean, can you understand what I'm talking about when I say image? There is something with that. And I think we haven't went into that enough. But, you know, because I talked a bit about that before. But this is really rehashing that conversation on a major scale. And, you know, look at all of these other women up there. You know, there were other women who people could argue were people who could possibly potentially have won besides her. However, she wasn't a runner-up. She's the winner. That's why she wears the tiara. And she now is the representative of France. And white Americans, especially the white American males, are very upset. And so, just a thought. Look at this sister on the screen, right? So this sister from Martinique, she speaks French. I don't even think she speaks any English. I noticed something about their energy toward her that is very familiar about their energy toward her. And so when you hear an Angel Reese say this,
I'll look back in 20 years and be like, yeah, the reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person. It's because of me too. And I want y'all to realize that.
And when she says it's because of me too, it's because she's the champ.
After the game, finishing the way she started this season, LSU has been a confident group throughout.
And there it is. She's the champ. This is one of the main things that propelled Caitlin Clark's following from people who were not already following basketball. And it's all because of this picture here. Anybody who doesn't think so is absolutely a liar. And so we're talking about image and Caitlin Clark now coming out again, paying homage to Black women. This is why you're seeing her get so much pushback for just simply telling you the truth. Now, I seen this. Well, I'll get to that. So let me play the little piece from Time where she's being interviewed. And let me look here. There I am. Like I said, it's news break edition, so I'm just partly on camera today, but for the most part, off camera. But I am here, of course. So let's get this on the stage.
Like tremendous incredible positive feedback. That's what we've seen across the board. There's always going to be some negativity. And I feel like you have had to answer more questions than anybody about the intersectionality of race and gender and sexuality in sport because of just who you are, and you represent the growth of this thing. And even today, earlier today, Megyn Kelly, she was saying that you were apologizing for your white privilege and the fact that you wanted to uplift Black female athletes and make sure that they were getting the shine, kind of like your pioneers were getting the shine that they deserved. And I just want to know how you feel or how you respond to some of those criticisms when you have to deal with something that it's really not your problem. Like, I feel like it's them looking in a mirror a little bit, but it still comes down on your shoulders.
I feel like I always have had really good perspective on everything that's kind of happened in my life, whether that's been good, whether that's been bad. And then obviously coming to the WNBA, like I've said, I feel like I've earned every single thing that's happened to me over the course of my career. But also, I grew up a fan of this league from a very young age. Like, my favorite player was Maya Moore. Like, I know what this league was about. And like I said, like, it's only been around 25 plus years. So I know there's been so many amazing Black women that have been in this league, and continuing to uplift them, I think, is very important. And that's something I'm very aware of. And like I said, like, I try to just be real and authentic and, you know, share my truth. And I think that's very easy for me. Like, I'm very comfortable in my own skin. And that's kind of been how it is my entire life.
Yes.
That's very honest opinion. It's very telling on how people are so strongly responding. They want to unfollow her because she doesn't represent what they want her to represent, mainly because she's a basketball player. So the fact that she's a basketball player, you know, she's shutting up and dribbling, but you asked her a question. And so as a person who would be an ambassador at this present moment for, number one, the league and the game of basketball, there's a woman out here on the internet. Her name is Dana something. She's one of those right-wing talking idiots. And she had something to say about Caitlin Clark as well. And when I hear these people speak, it's the same thing. None of these people seem to understand that the game of basketball is always and has been a team sport. There is not one player that elevates the entire game of basketball. They are a contributing factor. But the fact that Caitlin Clark is in a position to make the most money of a WNBA player ever, by far, by the way, you're upset that she literally pays homage to the women who established the field for women like Caitlin Clark to make enough money to where they only have to play their league. They could choose to play in something else if they want to. For years, women basketball players played professionally here and abroad. A lot of them are still doing it because they don't get paid enough from the league or these other deals. Now, also where the NIL deals come into play at, when college, see, again, women's basketball players over the last 30 years have literally been starved. Not because the game is played. So again, it's going to do something with people's enthusiasm to pursue a career in professional women's basketball because it just wasn't lucrative. Now that women can make money off their name, make money off their appearance, and they can, in college and in high school, some of these people join up and get sponsored and get sponsorships from these other companies. So by the time you see these people pulling up to a professional event The car they driving in, they bought with their college money. That's what people don't be understanding. And again, let's just keep it a buck. A lot of these young ladies walking around here in college right now make more money than a lot of the women in the WNBA. And that's because the game has changed because of the NIL deals. And so when that now becomes into play, you got high school girls understanding, oh, there's money in this. And this now is a real career besides just the love of basketball. But you don't have to sit up here and wear your body down year in, year out, scraping to get by playing the game you love. But that is the sacrifice that those women she speaks of made. So what she's doing is paying homage to that. And to be such of a dirtbag douche, to make it where she needs to just quit. Megyn Kelly, you sound ridiculously idiotic. And so, without further ado, let's hear the first idiotic statement out of this white woman.
Totally insincere. And here's how you know it's totally insincere. Because if Caitlin Clark really felt uncomfortable in the spotlight as the newbie who's white, because white people didn't build the league, she wouldn't have said yes to being Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year. So either walk the walk or don't. But what you're doing here is trying to have it both ways. You're too cute by half, and you've managed to piss off your fan base. Go ahead and look at my Twitter feed and the comments under my tweet on this. She's lost thousands of fans, maybe more, as a result of this. And you will never appease the race bullies in the WNBA, ever. Because you're too popular, you're too talented, and too white.
No, she's privileged from the work that those players have done. Here's another person that you could pay homage to, who actually should have actually been an Athlete of the Year. Her name is Dawn Staley. Heard of her? The woman who is turning out WNBA players herself, her own hands, her own mind, her own skill, her own hands-on approach to the game of elevating women's basketball from the inception of their dream team to the WNBA, to the elevation of women's basketball back to the WNBA, getting better ratings than the NBA. And you guys want to say it's all because of Caitlin Clark. No, it's because of the game of basketball for women has changed and it's been elevating. The so-called fan is just now catching up, but this has been on the rise for years now. Why do you think they hate on Deion Sanders' kids so much? Because they're already rich. And they're rich playing college. They buying their friends Maybachs because they bringing in that kind of scratch. These NIL deals have completely changed the game. And so it shows these people. Also, it makes business men and women out of these youngsters. So they don't just starve all the way to getting a check. They're getting checks before they get the big check. This is financial literacy and business at its finest, actually, because they're already being prepared and having the capital to even seed things early before they get their first major league or NFL or NBA check, WNBA check. You see what I'm saying? So these people are looking at things entirely different. And the reason why they are is because they are only solely looking at it out of the eyes of race. And these are the people who talk about race baiters and stop the division. And why does everything have to be about race? All she said was that the privilege she's enjoying, she understands that. But she also takes credit for working hard to get herself where she's at. Because at the end of the day, you cannot finesse the basket to go in the hoop unless you can actually shoot. Now, with that being said, though, folks, white America, you need to understand, she's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Then what is Juju Watkins, who is already breaking Caitlin Clark's records in less time? Going for 50, playing at USC. Has their team in 1 year in the Sweet 16, the Elite 8, and looking pretty favorable this year. What about Juju Watkins? Here's the other thing. Oh, she's black and pretty. And she's from LA, playing in LA. There's a whole lot of hometown love for her. She got NBA players around her and some more. Now, it's funny, you know, but she managed by like Rich Paul. I mean, what are we talking about here? She has enough money to invest in another league. She's not in the WNBA yet. She's in college. So this is why a Caitlin Clark would say, it's because of these women who built this. It's not just the WNBA, but it's women's basketball as a whole, which is now a business and a working model for young women to come into a sport to make money off of their name, appearance, and likeness, and all of their other dealings they own. You are establishing a system of business women. But that's not good enough. All of a sudden, the accomplishments of women have been diminished. Y'all noticing that? There's no problem. No one says that. No, that's misogyny. Even if it's coming from another woman, that's misogyny. You hating on them women. The vitriol that's in this woman's voice. Let's hear a little more from Megan, shall we?
I haven't heard one dissent from what's being done to Caitlin, are rising up against this white player solely because of skin color. It is racist bullying to its core.
Oh yeah, see, racist bullying to its core. They have risen up against Caitlin Clark. Are you listening to this woman talk? Lie, shall I say? Number one, she wasn't targeted. She's a rookie. Well, she was a rookie. Now she's done. I mean, you guys need to replace one of your NBA player, your WNBA players with Caitlin Clark on the Olympic team. People want to see her. That's not how the game of basketball works. That's how your quest for this false idea of superiority, that's how that works. So when people understand why are they upset, it's because she understands black folks paved the way. Just like how black women built the WNBA. Are y'all catching what they really upset at? Black women built the WNBA. What can we say about black people as a whole and what black folks built? Y'all catching it? Let's hear some more of this racist.
And when she gets profiled by Time magazine, instead of just ignoring race and saying, I'm really grateful, thank you. Or, you know what your other option is, Caitlin, is to say, no thanks. If you really mean it, if what you...
Wait, why, if she's accepting an award as being a WNBA player, why would she not pay homage to the players that came before her in her sport that put her in position to be where she is today? Why is that wrong? Well, she could have left race out of it. Oh, so because they're black women, you're not supposed to mention that. I don't understand it. I hope you guys are paying attention to the anger of these people, because they're telling you a lot. They're because of their stoked anger, go examine what they're saying, because boy, this one really has them unhinged, and they are letting people know what time it is. You just got to know what you're listening for. So the problem here is Caitlin Clark spoke something that they all know does exist. You could have left race out of it. So here's the other part of that. Never give credence and kudos for black creations. Kind of makes you wonder about where the notion of this rewriting the history of hip hop comes from. Because you see what they're talking about. Well, the reason, that's another reason. Because what Caitlin Clark did prevents the rewriting of history. Oh, they're upset. They are upset. Let's hear some more of this anti-black racist.
Really want is the spotlight on the black players, then don't say you'll sit for the profile. Sorry, Paul, but this is ridiculous.
Wait a minute. She wants to highlight the black players, so instead of her doing that, she should just say, I'm not going to sit here for your timepiece. She's being interviewed by a black woman. These people are giving it all away, family. I hope you guys are listening to these folks. In their stoked anger, they are telling some secrets that you guys don't often hear. And this is coming from them. It's coming from their own mouth. I don't even have to tell you. You are getting it from the horse face's mouth.
She wants it both ways. She wants to be the person of the year, the athlete of the year, but she wants us to know she feels really bad about it. She's really sorry she's so white. And she really...
Look at how she's turning that into paying homage to the people who have laid the pathway before her. This is how these people see it. Any accolade to the black folks that came before her. This was a time where white people were supposed to be shining. And you got this. Come on, man. For all intents and purposes, what they really want to call her is an in lover. I'm surprised. I'm sure there's probably some posts, you might as well just go ahead and marry one of them. I'm just waiting, I'm before too long, see she don't get hit with those. This woman is not your proxy. She doesn't want to be, and she doesn't have to be. But you guys are so upset that, well, you just gotta shut up. She got an award for her skill. No one's taking that away from her. You won't even see black Americans saying, okay, she's Times Athlete of the Year. Go figures. I mean, but here you guys are losing it. If she's going to sit and take the award, don't you pay no accolades to no niggas. I mean, what? Are you, man? And look at this guy too. He's from Australia. This Australia racist. They real anti-black down there too. So that's why they get along so well. Because this is actually on Sky. So this is on the Australian channel. Because those dirtbags have their hands and we're so interesting up here that because they're not interesting at all there. But I guess. And then they also tend to get punked from China. So they have to live vicariously from people that actually wear their nuts, unlike this cocksucker here. But anyway,
really wants the black player's profile. It's like Cinderella. Like, I don't really want to go out with the prince. Please pay attention to these very unattractive stepsisters. That's really what she's saying. I know you don't want to look at them. You really want to look at me. But
This is why I'll tell you, you are here tuned into a professor from the University of White Supremacy, because I have long told you what the issue was. I've long told you what their problem is. You see this pretty black woman on the screen, that's it. Let's hear a little more from this horse face.
Feel bad about all the attention and just take a minute to look at them, because they, after all, did get this castle in the first place that I now am set to rule. No one's buying it. It's insincere. It's condescending. Not to defend these black players who are trying to torture her, but I'm sure not all of them agree with what's being done to her.
I'm sure not all of them agree with what's being done to her. They're trying to torture her. Oh, the over the top of it.
And some of them are probably offended. She's like, oh, pity the poor black players over here and give them the spotlight for once.
Hey, Megan Kelly, here's a novel idea. Why don't you actually ask a black player to come on and explain how they see it? There's a novel idea. Why don't you actually get the perspective from an actual live black person versus being anti-black, sitting over here in your studio, going all the way to Australia to talk about black business? That's funny. Well, actually, it's not really black business. See, again, I guess that's when you live rent-free in the devil's mind, because Caitlin Clark just paying homage to her league, which her league is filled with black women. Her sport is filled with black women. The up-and-comers are and still and have and always will be black women. Yeah, you'll have some salt sprinkled in every now and then, but it's going to be a whole lot of pepper. So at the end of the day, Megan, this is what her issue is. She looks like this. She doesn't look like that. And she most definitely doesn't look like this. And that's the problem, folks.
She adorns herself in covers.
Because why all of a sudden we were talking about basketball, she started talking about looks.
Bottom line, there's no one left to root for here.
Wow. Bottom line, there's no one else to root for here. Pack it up and go home. We're no longer basketball fans anymore. Basketball is an in sport. Oh, let me fix this. All right. Check. So like I'm saying, and so they chimed in. CNN, they had something to say on that. So let's take a look at that.
The ball, the way she shoots the ball in the WNBA. I'm just being honest. She, early on in her collegiate career, reminded me of Steph Curry, and that's where all this attention came from. But before she entered the league, that started in 1997, there were the Lisa Leslies and the Dawn Staleys and the Sheryl Swoops of it all, who really built this league, and they weren't getting the attention because, let's face it, the league was built in a way in which it wasn't mainstream. And all she's simply saying is that I want to respect those who come before me. Now, conservatives do one of two things that I am so fascinated with, especially when it comes to her. Either they whine or they bully. So now it's time to do both. They're bullying her when she decides to just like a post about Taylor Swift post about Taylor Swift endorsing Kamala Harris. They
endorsing voting,
like saying go vote, and then they unfollow her in droves. And then she says, you know what? I am so grateful for all this money I make. I'm making more money than most of these women will ever see in their lifetime because I am a great player, but I'm also someone that they are using as their message person, that they are using me as a conduit to get their message out. And she says, no, I don't want any of that. I'm grateful, and hopefully I can shine some attention on Bakari because no one's paying attention to Bakari.
Look how Scott Jennings is uncomfortable with her perspective. And I would have to suspect one of the reasons why he is so uncomfortable is she's talking past the narrative he wants to use. So when he comes back, he's going to have to pick out a phrase that she uses and then say, oh, once I hear that, I'll discount everything else you say. Because right here, he can't get past this. So he has to figure out how to devalue everything that she's saying. But that's just, and again, that's just, that's low white male type trolling tactic, one-on-one. How do I not be racist while being racist in a conversation about race? Well, I'll discount what you said. And I'm not going to discount it because you said it's black. I'm going to say it because that's why it's DEI, it's CRT, and they're saying this and this and that and this. They give a whole bunch of unfounded nonsense. Kind of like when you hear Diane Yap talking.
And so I'm going to give Bakari some attention because you know what? Thank you for keeping this league alive, Bakari. Everything that you've done has really got to the point where I can be here and benefit in this moment. And Megyn Kelly saying she's on a knee apologizing because she's white. She's acknowledging the reverse DEI that no one wants to talk about. She has a privilege. She has been in this league for a year? And she makes more money than the people who built this league, and she understands there's a reason. Not because she shoots the ball well. Yes, that also helps, but there's another reason, Scott. There's a reason that says I'm white, and it's a privilege, and people love me, and I'm okay with that, but I want to also acknowledge everyone else. Why is she being bullied?
Why is that wrong?
Why is she being bullied for acknowledging something that's smart, truth, and factual?
Look at old Scott.
Why is she being bullied for acknowledging something that's smart, truth, and factual?
What you got, Scott?
A couple things. Number one, whether you're an athlete or anyone else, if I hear you use the phrase "my truth," I immediately then discount everything else you say because there is.
See what he just did there? So he opened up with, first off, anytime I hear anybody say "my truth," I immediately discount everything you had to say. That doesn't mean anything that she said was invalid. So what he is doing is giving an out to, I guess, all the listeners, the conservative people who would come over here to hang on every word of what he has to say. But that was just a weak deflection because he's not addressing anything. And so now he's going to preface everything around everything she didn't say, which is another tactic to know of when you're talking to an Edomite.
Isn't my truth or your truth. There's just the truth. And when you start using phrases like that, it tells me that your brain has been captured by something that I don't really respect.
That's not true.
Number two.
That's not true.
Number two, the attention the league got this year was amazing, and it was all because of her. She is an amazing player. The arena's...
Ooh, man, Esau, you just went off. No, see, what you got to understand is, no. The league didn't benefit just because of her. And, actually, it benefited because there's pretty women in it. There's pretty straight women in it, and she ain't one. And so, and that's all subjective. You guys can go ahead and go, she's halfway cute. No, you guys want that to be the standard of what people think is beauty. And what people's algorithms and Instagram and Facebook were showing you, this is what they preferred. Yeah. And so here's the problem now. Add insult to injury. You got Bayou Barbie, now Shy Barbie over there, Baltimore Barbie, who's the champion, by the way. Let's not forget that. See, there it is showing her like, yeah, we're going to get that hardware. See, we got this one. And Angel Reese is the one with the championship ring. Is she not? Just saying. So, this is what began the Caitlin Clark hype train. And Caitlin Clark was already balling out at Iowa State or University of Iowa. People in the basketball world would be speaking about her, but as far as everybody outside of basketball catching hype, no. That's why what they're doing right now with what she said with paying homage, this is the thing. And Scott Jennings is coming in to promote the lie they want to be believed. She single-handedly elevated the... No. If anything, I'll say, Scott, you did. Your blatant anti-blackness, and this is a societal indictment on your community. That's why she actually had the support and the rise of fame that she did was based off your community's anti-blackness. You hate black people so much that you are willing to ride and die with one player that has the opportunity to be elevated over black players in a black sport. And this was it because again, Scott, this is how weak of a man in the system of manhood that you got, that you have to look to the white woman to say, I feel good about myself. And there's so many of you out there right now that she says, yeah, but these black women built it. Kind of makes you reflect on the foundation of America. That's the problem, Scott, is that this resonates too close to another truth. That you can't do nothing unless we build it. And that's your legacy, Scott. Here you are talking about the system that was created by these women. And the only thing you have to offer is Caitlin Clark came in and she elevated. She elevated nothing. The game was already elevating itself. Because that's the machine that women's basketball is right now. So I would just want to know why, if it's all about Caitlin Clark, then why was the WNBA championship so televised? Why is attendance in the NCAA and the views of these games what they are? You have college women basketball games competing with primetime NFL events. Caitlin Clark ain't nowhere around, bro. But in your mind, still, well, it's all about, no. And that goes to show how little you actually invested any time into watching or even being a fan of the women's basketball. Because if you had, you would have known where this thing was going 5 years ago. When you should have known when Brittany Griner came into the WNBA, she is like the early of this new wave of players. Like you got girls that are 6'2" dunking. You understand what I'm saying? We are in an entirely different phase of women's basketball. It's exciting play. The college scene is booming. South Carolina pulls in 15,000 and home games. This is women's basketball. Don't sit up here and talk about nobody want to come out and see this. The previous way that the league was marketed was atrocious. So you also have to understand that how leagues work. It's not all about the gameplay. But see, college, bringing that excitement that comes around with college, there's an element there. But here's the biggest thing you have to accept, Scott. If you want an elevated college game and the elevation and the benefit that Caitlin Clark actually benefits from now today, well, the big driving force of that movement is straight, pretty black women. Yeah, it sucks for you. Because you would all want them coming out looking like a long horse face like this. But I assume, that's probably the same problem that people are having over this woman, the Miss France. Because when you think French, you don't think her. They saw this woman win. White America, on this one, you were really, really telling on yourselves, okay? And it comes at a time where they're still upset about Caitlin Clark and talking about white privilege. So when they saw this right here, they just lost it. Oh, hilarious. Let's hear more from Scott before we wrap.
The TV ratings were up when she was on television. That's undeniable. But the league still lost like $40 million this year. And it's never made money. And to me, when you're talking about having respecting people who built something, what did they build? A league that loses money every year? She has the capacity.
Respecting what was built. What did they build? You don't diminish what's built when she's able to make $60 million from it. What did they build? They built the platform for her to make $60 million. Stupid. What are you talking about? That's a dumb question, actually. But see, that's the question of the devil. Because see, what Esau will do is he'll turn around and say, oh, well, I discount everything you said. And so let me turn the conversation over here. The NBA or the WNBA lost money. Yeah, but they had better ratings than the NBA right now. And you know why the NBA sucks? Is because they went to that trash ass Euro play. So by promoting all of these European, all these foreigners, you wanted to get away from foundational Black American players, your product is trash. So what fuels the WNBA, what fuels women basketball right now in the excitement, in all of the hubbub, why all of these women teams and their games are televised on ESPN. They playing on the big channel. They're not being put on the back channels. They on the big channel. The girls balling, getting NIL deals because some of these girls are driving Benzes to the stadiums. That ain't Caitlin Clark money. It's the game of basketball, doofus. And that's how this works. But again, this is societal indictment time. So I just want y'all to understand this is what they mad at. So don't ever let one of these idiots come around talking about division and why does that always have to be about race? Caitlin Clark only gave homage to the Black players. You guys are jumping out of the window based on your own problems because she admitted that there is such a thing as white privilege.
What do you mean, what do they build? What do you mean, what do they build?
What kind of a business did they build?
The reason why it's still up and still running, whether it's losing money or not, is because of these Black women who are in this. And so, no.
Facts.
You stop it now.
It's not. I was in Dickie's arena.
Who pays for it?
I was in Dickie's arena. Let me just tell you.
It says more about the people who are getting offended by it than her.
I think they're just disappointed.
It definitely
that
does.
She appears to have been captured by the woke
You
mob.
don't like
She's
the
like
word.
being
Here's the
gracious.
disappointment.
It's the white privilege. Let him articulate this because I want to learn something.
I feel a little bad for her because she's going to learn that it will never be enough. No matter how much of the phrasing, no matter how much of the groveling you do, it will never be enough for the people in that league that hate her guts. It will never satisfy.
See, this is a projection, okay? What Scott is doing is projecting something. And the only reason that he actually even could make such a projection, I want you to pay attention to something that all the people that are upset at what Caitlin Clark keeps saying. They keep talking about hatred, but they keep referring to somebody else's hatred. Their inherent hatred that has not been displayed anywhere. However, coming from the mouth of the projector, why are you speaking? Because you're here to project your hatred of Black folks out here and say, Well, those women on her in the league hate her because she's white. Well, Diana Taurasi is a white woman. Brianna Stewart, white woman. They're just gay. So Sabrina Ionescu, remember her from right here in Oregon, where she was Caitlin Clark before there was a Caitlin Clark, and she shoots and looks like Steph Curry. They actually had her competing with Steph Curry in a 3-point contest. Been here, done that, man. This is the great white hype. And here we are all over again. So when I seen some doofus on X respond to me today, what's your name? Kurt. The great white hype thing has been real since Jack Johnson. Why do you think everybody sat up there wearing Irish flags against Floyd Mayweather? Tariq Nasheed is literally the only person with an American flag in a fight in Las Vegas between an Irishman and an American. And all of these white folks came with Irish flags. You know, all of them American, majority of them American. But they coming out here representing this dude. Tariq Nasheed is sitting up there by himself with an American flag. And he's literally the only dude in that area rocking America. And all them folks in there had to be American. You know they were. So this is the thing. I just wanted to make sure I chimed in on this with this societal indictment, because Scott Jennings and what's her face, they really let the cat out the bag. Megyn Kelly. Ooh, boy, did they let the cats out the bag.
They do not. Trying to pander. Isn't it
because
also,
I hear the language. It's the language of the pander. I hear the phrase white privilege.
It's the language of the pander to say that black women paved the way.
Sports is the one place where nobody on the field has any privilege at all. She doesn't get extra points when she shoots because she's white. She gets the same number of points as anybody else. Sports is the great equalizer, and it just felt like to a lot of people that she was groveling for no reason, because she is an amazing player who deserves.
It doesn't matter, Scott, if the platform she's playing on right now doesn't exist because the players that you don't want her to mention didn't exist. She wouldn't have a game to play, and she would be somewhere where in her hometown, probably packing groceries. This reality that so when people talk against reparations, because foundational Black Americans build America, this is what their psyche. So they know the truth. Don't let them people fool you. They know the truth. You think Scott, all this stuff that Scott is up here the messages he's trying to make resonate, he actually believes? You think so? Or do you think he's trying to get people to believe something by way of deception? What do you think?
There's all the accolades she's getting right now for doing what she's doing for women's basketball.
All right,
she's acknowledging her truth, and that's what they got the problem with, because the truth is white privilege exists. And you guys tried to make her a proxy for whiteness. She didn't want to be that. Leave her out of it, and you guys didn't like that. And you thought that she was semi-supporting Kamala Harris. You guys didn't like that. You stopped following her. So those are your mainstream doofuses with the same thing. And I just want you to understand that these people bring nothing but division. Division is in their hearts because hatred is in their hearts. They are anti-Black to the core. And this is a very deep sentiment. When you see people looking at all of these scenarios, they are the ones looking at it through race. If they are talking about woke or DEI, they are the race baiters. And I hope now that you can see, because Caitlin Clark really didn't even, other than mentioning the Black women that paved the way for her to be where she is, and the idols that she looked up to, a Black player. So it comes down to image, and they're upset at the image being tainted again, but it wasn't tainted. All she did was tell the truth, and they have a big problem with that. So before we go, I want you to see a Karen speaking the truth of a Karen. And black women, I hope this shows you only have black men.
So I'm a little bit late to the party about Caitlin Clark and her need to announce her white privilege and to acknowledge that the WNBA was built by black women. I wouldn't know that because I don't pay attention to women's sports except, gymnastics and ice skating. But anyway, I thought, okay, did Serena Williams or Venus, did they ever feel the need to thank Chrissy Everett, Martina Navratilova, and Billie Jean King and Margaret Court, all those white women who basically built women's tennis? Did Tiger Williams ever feel the need to thank Arnold Palmer for essentially paving the way for him to excel in men's golf? Did Arthur Ashe, probably the greatest humanitarian who ever played the game of tennis, did he ever make race an issue? No. Caitlin, you've lost that huge fan base that you had. You will never placate the wokesters who demand complete knee bending. And you've just shown that you may be the athlete of the year, but you're a pathetic little girl.
Wow. Lord. And it's funny when she brings up Arthur Ashe. Arthur Ashe. Was he ever bring up blackness? I guess being on the cover of Jet magazine might count, I would suspect. Him and his wife, I'm looking at right here. Here's him on the cover of Jet. So he was very openly black, and I guess that's why you brought him up. So, well, did he talk about race? Caitlin Clark didn't talk about race. All she did was shout out to the black women. So giving black women some shine. So I hope y'all see how much these folks really actually hate black women. And so one of the ways to get at your enemies is to befriend your enemy. When you hate somebody, these people's sick, twisted minds work. They want to gain your trust. You'll be like, that's my friend. I can trust them. And at the end of the day, that's how they really deeply feel. But that's how devious a person like that can be. And that type of individual is dangerous. So I would advise anybody that's hanging around people like that, you might want to change your company. I'll just say, Because at the end of the day, they cannot stand black beauty. And they most definitely can't stand black beauty winning over whiteness. That's the truth. That is the truth. And a lot of people ain't gonna like it, but it is what it is. So again, before we go,
I'll look back in 20 years and be like, yeah, the reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person. It's because of me too. And I want y'all to realize that.
And that is why all of the hype around Caitlin Clark existed, because it needed fuel. And the fuel of that is Angel Reese. And there's no getting around it. Megyn Kelly and all you other people out there, that Dana woman, Matt, or this guy here on CNN. See, these people perpetually are anti-black. And so I hope you guys see this broadcast for what it is. It is breaking down societal, once again, a societal indictment of MAGA's meltdown. And I won't just say MAGA. I say MAGA not as in a party, but in a society. Because there may be people over there that claim to be Democrat that are just as MAGA at heart as Megyn Kelly. And there might be somebody out there that says, man, that ain't true. Everybody just acts this way on the Republicans, and the Democrats ain't got no mind to be thinking about black people like that. Yeah, the hell they do. And if you believe that, well then, I speak for myself. beatzillapdx official, the beatzillapdx official show. Those of you in the chat and the voices, or the grassroots, and the voices of new black media, I think it's safe to say I speak for all parties involved when we proudly dedicate this song to you.
Get up off of that cocaine and get up off of that crack. Get yourself together and get your mind back.
Yes, indeed, family. So this has been a news break. I know this one is a little longer one. We had a long one last week. So again, a lengthy news break. Appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Make sure you keep your notification bells on. That way you'll be notified anytime something's going live. Make sure you follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at beatzillapdx. And of course, you can donate to this channel at CashApp and at PayPal. Those will be in the description. And we got the midweek report coming up next. So stay tuned. Thank y'all for tuning in. Appreciate it. And this has been my take on these folks. What do you guys think? So let me know what you guys' opinion is in the chat or in the comments below. Leave your comments and let me hear what you guys are thinking about this, because for me, I think this goes a long way about them giving up in their, like I say, in their stoked anger, giving up a lot of the truth about how some of these supremacists, these anti-black racists are actually thinking from inside. You dig it? So, peace, power, blessings, and protection be upon each and every one of you. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already done so, and stay black, stay vigilant, stay alive. Black first, black first, black first. Shalom, y'all. Have a blessed